What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Corporate Counterculture. This is episode number 23, and you have
Yes.
here your hosts, Brian Martins, and we have Brian Taylor on the other side of the country.
Yes.
Today we're excited to talk about kind of Q2 or Q1 closing into Q2 and creating a little bit of urgency as we lead into the summer. What that might look like, what you might be going through, what you might be experiencing, and kind of potentially what some potential options would be, and see if there's anything that we can say or share that might help you out in your own journey. So, Brian, let's kick it off, man. What are you thinking about?
Yeah. So when you think about Q1 closing and going into Q2, a few things come to mind. The main thing I always look at is the gauntlet, right? When you're getting into the end of March, typically leadership starts to forecast where are you gonna land this year, right? Have you closed an opportunity? Do you have an opportunity in the hopper that's going to close either this month in March or next month? And do you need to be on a PIP, a performance improvement plan? So for me, March is always important because you kind of want to have a sale, a close in the first quarter, always, pretty much always. And so luckily, we've all had at least one sale, especially if you're doing a long sales cycle. So we've accomplished that, right? But going into Q2, as you have that layover from end of Q1 going into Q2, I always feel like things get a little dicey. And so I think the urgency strikes up in Q2 because summer's around the corner. And that's when that cold calling gets real cold. It gets real dark and people answer a lot less when they're on vacation and they don't respond to the emails when they're about to go on vacation. So for me, I think strategically, I try to ramp up the activities. That's like my main thing. Like Q2, I try to ramp up the activity significantly to hopefully and skillfully land at an end on quota or beyond for the year. But yeah, Q2 is my time it's almost like March Madness, I guess, right? We're in March, so technically Q2 is my March Madness.
It's just crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. The intensity is super high, and I think honestly, what I'm learning, right? Because you and I are essentially new to this space. What I'm learning in this space is like there's pockets of high intensity, and then there's pockets of kind of like cleanup and just managing things as they are. And I think that really is that summer time frame, and then the holiday season. Nobody wants you in their business like peak summer, like July and maybe August. People don't really want you around because that's when a lot of people are taking vacation. That's when, people are out and kind of enjoying themselves, and not a lot is actually getting done because there's a lot of balancing of vacations too. So like even if you're working with a good client or a good customer and they're talking about potentially implementing this long-term project, how many people are involved in that, and how many of those 5 to 10 people are at some point taking a week or 2 weeks off during that summer time frame.
Dude.
And then you're talking about balancing essentially 10 weeks worth of vacation in the summer time frame. And then the other part of that is the holiday season. Nobody wants you in their business during the holiday season. And so you really have to really turn it up from January which is weird because January is still considered kind of holidays. Like nobody wants you there because everybody's doing their kickoffs and everybody's kind of getting going on their projects for that particular year.
For sure.
So you really have February to like maybe May. So that's one quarter. And then you have like August into October. And outside of that, if you don't turn up the intensity in that period and you don't get as many projects either on track or flowing or even closed in those kind of 2 periods of the year, I feel like it's really hard to make it happen any other time of the year. Would you agree with that?
No, I agree, man. It's a little bit of both business cycle and human nature. You know what I'm saying? The business cycle it is what it is, right? January to December, or fiscal year is June to June or something like that. So they're always dancing around trying to make their numbers and hit their budgets. On top of people, like you said, they have to take vacation outside things like kids or whatever. And then just human nature is, they were busy at their job the same time you were busy. Now they want to chill.
Yes. Yeah.
Now they want to
Very
chill. I
true.
don't want to have any hard conversations or talk about projects until I'm deciding or committing to be back in the throes of the busyness of the company again. So it's always important to acknowledge that when you're trying to sell too, because you can kind of talk yourself out of a deal trying to push up against a timeline that doesn't fit with what you want very quickly.
That's exactly right. And I always kind of try to like remind myself too, is like humans buy from humans, right? And so like you got to remember that you're selling to a human. You're not just selling to a company or just selling on a basis of numbers. Like there has to be a human level of understanding there as to like what might make that person tick, right? Or what might make that person kind of get pissed off if you do push too hard. On the flip side of that, what might be the one little detail that will like finally push them over the edge towards actually signing or buying your solution or whatever. So it is something that like really kind of gets you to really think long term is what I'm
For
finding.
sure.
It's like there's a reason why, you can't make or break your entire sales career at this particular place on 1 year alone. Like there's just no way that's going to happen because projects get pushed, projects get moved. Sometimes if it's a really large project, it could make your year in about a year to 2 years. It could definitely make that year down the line. But it takes a while, like especially for you and me coming in and having only a year under our belts. Are we have we seen it all? Like not even close.
Not
You know what
even
I mean?
close,
Like I
dude.
even now, man, I've got some good ones cooked up with like people that are far more experienced than myself, and I'm just sitting there taking notes, trying to understand kind of what their thought process is. And what I'm learning is exactly that. Is like, okay, you strike while the iron's hot, no question, right? Like they're motivated, you gotta match their cadence. But then also too, like know when to really pick up that activity and know when to like not necessarily fight against the current sometimes. Because
Yeah.
like now as we
Yeah.
get into summer, like you're saying, the cold calling aspect of things is going to be difficult. Then also too, the vacationing aspect of things, like your family's going to be calling on you to take some time off
Yeah.
and slow down a little bit too, because now if you got kids, your kids are out of school, so you got to take advantage of these precious summer months, and it gets a little fun that during that time of the year.
True. True, man. I think the one thing that helps me during this time of year when I'm trying to push things, is also to become a student again. So I go from just like straight up salesman trying to close deals to back to student, and then now I'm all right. Let me learn about these industries a bit more. Let me see where these industries are going and where they're headed to, because when you're trying to close deals, you're great at talking about your project and your
Yes.
product and how it fits into their situation, but you kind of lose sight of like where their industry is going, where their industry is developing, what are some things that are near and dear to their heart and things that are coming up. So for me, my sale gets a little bit better only because I try to go into student mode at the same time. And yeah, I don't know, I just say get more craftier, but it's
Mm-hmm.
only during this season though, because after that it's like I'm back to just focusing on closing deals, because I need to make the number. So early Q1, close deals. Getting towards the end of the year, I'm focused on closing deals. This is like a special time because I know, all right, I need to try something different. And now it's the time to get creative. So,
Is it a time of year where you kind of like go back and look at any recycled projects or try to see if there's anything that stalled something in the past? And if that issue, whether that be particular to that individual, that company, or like a global, like economic issue or something like that, do you ever
yeah,
kind of go back? Because like I've got one right
for
now
sure.
where, customer was definitely interested. And there was the whole tariff stuff that started, whatever it was, 6 months ago or something. And when
Hmm.
that started, they were like, whoa, we're not going to move anything until this gets all resolved. And so I'm just literally like waiting for that news report to say, hey, everything is finalized. Let's say that way. Right. And these industries are now starting to figure it out. Right. They have some stability. And then basically the same day that I'm going to call them back and say, hey, let's talk about this. Right. So what do you have experience with in that particular sense?
Yeah, yeah. So I do a lot of scouting. Same thing like you said, the tariff thing is one. And so I'll just use that as an example. So if the tariffs are a big deal and they're kind of holding off, I'll kind of take some time to learn about the tariffs, do a deep dive, figure out how it directly impacts them, and use them to see if my talking points are right. So I'll completely change my strategy and say, yo, I saw that the tariffs on auto parts are going to increase the cost of goods sold by another 15%. Is that right? And then if they say, yeah, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So are you looking to offset? Are you looking to increase? Are you looking to experience or get that money back through one of our solutions, right? And they might say, yeah. And so if I'm leaning in the right direction, even if they're not ready to have the conversation now, I just repackage that for my cold calling for other accounts. And hey, I've talked to a couple of people in this industry. I noticed that with the 15%, they are trying to use our solution to kind of get that money back. Would love to talk to you, blah, blah, blah. So I'll take each scenario that I need to circle back on, do some type of deep dive, get a new tidbit of information, and completely change my cold calling strategy. And it will be only specifically about that situation.
I like that a lot, actually, because I think that that's, it's not just focusing on one particular project or one particular customer. Like, you're directly using feedback from one customer and their personal experience to generalize that and say, hey, maybe this might be a connection with a new prospect moving forward. Might be an easier way to kind of get the conversation rolling in that sense, because it's like, it also helps add credibility to what you've already done for somebody else in the same exact space. So you already showed up with a level of credibility and also a level of like, hey man, I understand what you're going through. Like, specifically, I understand that this is the particular area of this global economic issue that is impacting you. So that's super valuable. That's a good point.
Yeah, because we're typically dealing with director level and above, so they're having manager meetings and conversations, which is operations, how do we execute on the day to day, but then they're also a part of those leadership meetings. And so I'll try to all right, we had the management meetings and the day to day stuff. Now, how do I talk like I've been in the leadership meetings? And so that's where that insight I try to go into that trusted advisor every now and then.
I mean, the other side of the trusted advisor thing is just like calling them up. How's it going? How's business? Have you seen an uptick? Have you seen a downtrend? Like, just want to let you know that, we're doing we're adding this new optional thing to our business model. Might be something that you could offset, like you're saying, could offset some of these costs, could be completely different on like your cash flow or something like that. So there are different ways that you kind of could get creative too. And at the same time though, like, to be completely honest, there are certain things that come out in the news that I'm just like, this is going to hurt me. You know what I mean? Like, we mentioned this a few months ago, where it's like, look, doesn't matter which way you lean politically, but at the end of the day, if it affects my wallet, like, I'm going to listen. Right. And so, I've got a customer right now where it's like, we have this fat project going on. They were loving it. Right. They were like ready to sign. And they're like, I have to go to China to have some meetings there with a supplier. And so we'll figure out kind of how that, and I'm like, this is not the time for that to happen.
Yeah, dude, that's a real thing, man.
Yeah.
I think global business is what people have to remember. We're in the global business every day, not just your project, but technically there's things globally that affect it all the time. So
what,
I don't know.
outside of like the global economic stuff, what else is, something that you might turn up or turn down in Q2? I mean, what I'm looking at is, like, I'm trying to look at, and also everybody kind of does this, but percentage to quota on like year to date, right? Like, my quota is, for example, 2 mil, we are 30% through the year. Am I at least at 30% of quota? Like, that's something that, like, I'm keeping a close eye on. Even yesterday I was dude, this is so funny, but like, I'm in the shower and I'm on the glass door and I'm just like doing math on the door. And I'm like, okay, my quota is X. I've just sold this. I still have these 2, 3, 4 active projects that are looking to close in the next 3 to 4 months. Okay, like, I really need to turn it up because I need stuff to close 6 months from now, right? So like, I literally sit here at all times of the day, because in sales, you never turn it off, right?
Sure.
So like,
For sure.
I'm sitting here at all times of the day and saying, okay, like, let me keep a mental tab on which project is where, even if you're not in front of your computer and you're not in front of like CRM, like, there's always, always be closing, like the ABCs of selling, right? Like, always be closing no matter what. So the entire time that I'm doing anything else, it's just, what is coming down the pipe and what does my 6 months out look like? Because again, there is a lull in there, and then there is a cutoff time with the holidays and all that other stuff. So it's like you got to be thinking long term in our space. That changes depending on the
Mm-hmm.
industry that you're in. But in our space, you got to be thinking 6 months out at least.
No, for sure, dude. That's my man, that's tough, but that's my kind of one of my things. I put a recurring meeting like every 3 days, and it just has my opportunities in there, just so I can like,
Oh,
you're
for real?
because you're driving. So somebody, if you're talking to your boss or you're talking through some things, you can't stop on your laptop. So I just kind of have that note where I can look and say, oh yeah, I got this, this, and this. All right, this one is at this much. I just, just list it out at least so I can always be aware of the numbers for sure.
That's interesting. That's
Yeah, just
interesting.
so it can pop up so I can have it if I
Just
need
so
to
it
grab
pops
it.
up.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Huh.
that's why when people say, "Man, you're busy every day at this time," I'm like, "No, that's just a
That's
tentative. It's a calendar invite, but it's literally just some data for myself to have."
honestly though, that's good too though, because even if it is like you're blocking off time to, call it your CRM updating time or call it your,
That's exactly what it's called.
yeah, bro, it's well worth that, right? Because
Yeah.
like there's certain times of the year where you get so caught up with closing that certain things like slip through the cracks. And that's where I struggle the most is, if something's not immediately in front of me or not super far in advance, kind of like that middle ground, it gets lost, right? Because like I don't know about you, but like I like the Salesforce reports and all that stuff. And
Love
so
it. Yeah.
I'm looking at what's close to closing, and I'm looking at like, okay, what's the activity? What activity can I do that like the top of funnel stuff, like the stuff
Hmm.
that just kind of got going, and the stuff that's all in the middle for some reason sometimes it gets lost. Like I don't, it just like doesn't register. Like, and so all the stuff that's like, okay, I've gotten like 40, 50% of the way there. And now like it might be needing one follow-up meeting or one, whatever. And that's the
Yeah.
stuff that kind of like gets pushed out. And it's like, oh shit, like let me figure this out.
Dude, I'm telling you, man, anytime somebody says Salesforce, I always get excited, but I always say everything outside of Salesforce has been the worst creation for salespeople because everything that has been created is also in Salesforce.
Or there's like an add-in or a way to like link it.
Dude, yeah, I'm like, if you just leave me to be in Salesforce, all of this will be fine. Even Slack, like half the time a Slack announcement or a report or a message is about something in Salesforce. So now I see your Slack. Now I got to go to Salesforce. You could just at me in Salesforce. It will come up. And it
That's
will
true.
ping my email to show that somebody messaged me.
That's so true. That is so true.
So I'm always like, dang, man, if we just use one thing, dude, everybody could be dynamic. But that's also why I circle back to having something on my email recurring message so I can know what I'm doing at least.
Keeps popping up.
Yeah, 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 man. Because like I said, you go through all these other different platforms that they add, and then it just becomes a mess, dude. So
On the Salesforce topic and on like kind of like simplifying things a little bit, what are you doing are you doing anything in particular with AI? Anything different outside of like the regular kind of like prospecting and kind of quick research on companies? Because like I'm in and out of ChatGPT all day long. So like for me as I'm driving, I'll
hmm
drive by some place, I'll put it on ChatGPT voice, and I'd be like, hey, I'm driving down. I've in Florida between Sarasota and Fort Myers, and I just drove by this warehouse. Like, tell me about this particular company, and it's like blah 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 blah. Um,
yeah,
are you doing any of like have you gotten into like the Claude stuff and like kind of like these automated sequences or anything like that? Because like the
I'm
whole global
very
economic stuff and then like
yeah,
sales stuff
dude.
kind of have you had any sort of marriage between the two?
No, but I'm very close to. I probably shouldn't say this on camera, but I'm very close to deciding how I want to duplicate myself.
Okay, okay,
The
yeah, you're gonna
reason
get a knock on your door soon.
the reason being is because so I walk through these scenarios. So with ChatGPT at the highest level, I forgot what that is. It's not pro, but whatever the top thing is, right?
Yeah, it's like enterprise or plus or something.
Hypothetically, that scenario you had, I've had that as well, and so I could say, uh, "Yo, ChatGPT, all right, so I'm on the highway. I see this company, Four Wheel Parts. Look them up for me and find the decision maker. And they can do it with ChatGPT. If I have the enterprise level, they can also log into my LinkedIn. If I have the enterprise level, I can't use it for our Outlook because it's work. But if I had a real email domain, I could purchase an email domain and email them from a professional email as well. And the enterprise level I could say, hey, send them a message, tell them I just passed him on the highway. I was in the area, would love to connect, make it based on these 3 things that you scraped the website and found. And it can do all of that.
Just automated, just
automated.
on a voice prompt.
Completely automated. So yeah, I'm going back and forth on how far down that rabbit hole.
Bro, I mean, just this morning, or no, yesterday or this morning, I don't know. I was listening to something where like this guy has spent whatever it is, 80 hours, not creating a bot, but like training a Claude, whatever.
Yeah.
And it gives him it automates a huge chunk of his day where he gets like an hour to an hour and a half of his day back. And,
dude,
it took him time, but like, okay, if you spend the 40, 50, maybe even 100 hours now, you'll make that 100 hours back easy.
Dude,
like, easy.
I'm in the space of like, I'm a little envious of like, dude, because you're younger than me. And so I'm like, man, if all of this stuff was available when I was younger and having children, I don't know if I would be a real person anymore. I'd be like, because in my head, so that's why I said I'm getting to the point where I'm like, all right, let me take my son's schedule, everything that the PTA sends me. Let me take my daughter's schedule. Let me get 2 individual agents. Remind me to read him a bedtime story. Remind me to do this. Like, I'm literally thinking, I need one for you. I need one for you. I need one for my wife. I need a different agent or just that one enterprise, and literally optimize everything. Like, hey, remind me to set up a date night every 17 days if it's not on my calendar already. Remind me to take my son to this STEAM event 4 days beforehand so I don't forget on the day of. Like,
yeah.
I'm really thinking, like, how far could I take this? You could take it pretty far to where
you have me now thinking like, how do I do this for myself? But then how do I turn around and monetize this shit for somebody else?
Yeah. I'm literally thinking like, how do I optimize my kid's life? My daughter has tournaments. My son has tournaments. They have training sessions. Remind me to leave this area by this certain time so I don't rush in traffic. Check traffic while I'm there to let me know if I need to leave earlier. There's a lot you can do, dude. And I'm kind of, you know what I mean?
That's crazy.
Yeah. And I haven't tested all of this, but in theory, yeah, with the enterprise, I for sure have seen enterprise send emails and continue the conversation for you. So I'm like, man, that'd be great just to be able to do my cold calling and my prospecting and then see, oh, I'm in this area, instead of having to look at the place, find it on the website. Then what I either have to write it down or add it into Salesforce. I'm thinking maybe I just skip all of that until it's a real lead.
Yo, honestly, bro, like
You know what I mean?
that's exactly it, right? Like if you can just say, hey, I'm driving by this particular area, look up this company, send an email to the top 3 contacts that you think would be the best fit for selling my solution. If one of them like responds to the email or opens it, like, send me a text message with their number and I'll give them a call. Like, what if it could do some? Oh, no way.
That's what I'm saying, bro. And so if I could just set up a Gmail account that's, I don't know, Brian Taylor Logistics or something. Like, yo, I'm in the area working with an account, blah, blah, blah. I could send you my LinkedIn in there so you know I'm a real person. Yeah, I'm kind of thinking that's how far down the line I'm like, oh man, if I do that, then everything else everybody else said is 100% true.
And that's, like, honestly though, like, that's exactly what, in today's world of having to do more with the same amount of time, like that's exactly what you end up having to turn to, right? Like,
yeah,
that's not out of the question in terms of like, why is it important or why is it even valuable? Like, at the end of the day, no matter where you go, you always seem like people are asked to do more, right?
Sure.
So why not tap into freaking technology? Like it's there, use it,
Yeah.
you
That's
know?
where, like, because I'm slowly convincing myself, like, hey, you're sharing data with everybody else already. So, like, just,
That is the flip side. And
yeah.
that is
So
the
that's where,
trade-off.
if
That
I
is the
can get,
trade-off.
like, once I can make that connection and feel comfortable with it, then it's like a free for all, I think.
That is the trade-off, and that is kind of like what kind of gets me a little bit. But at the same time, like if you're in ChatGPT enough, like it knows your medical history if you ask it medical questions, like
It
it
remembers
knows.
stuff from it'll pull it from a different thread when you're talking. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Yeah, bro. It's insane. And like even if I ask, like I've asked it business related questions that weren't necessarily related to like my sales job, but like, hey, somebody asked me something that like I need help with my business. And I just let me just see what ChatGPT says. And it'll be like, oh, well, in your sales role, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, that's not what I'm asking you. But it's assuming that
Yeah.
that's the, you know, that's the topic that it's on. And so it is interesting if you'd have to your point, train a completely different agent to customize, you know, whatever the prompts might be. But if you spend the time now and throughout the course of a year or 2 years or 5 years, you gain all this extra time and kind of like, for me, it's brain power, bro. Like
That's
the
what it
more I
is,
can,
dude.
yeah, the more I can freaking let go of some of the stuff that's occupying my brain, the better,
For sure. For sure.
you
It's
know.
like,
And that's exactly like, you know, how much can you do um with the actual sales specific stuff? Like that's the biggest thing. It's like the revenue generating tasks.
yeah, man. And so I'm kind of like, yo, if I could take an enterprise level chat GPT and it would email and cold call people, message people on LinkedIn all day
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's fire.
and just do that. But it's actually, instead of just spreading a wide net, it's actually people that I know I've passed. I know the warehouses are in this space.
That's like for what we do, like there are certain things that you need to physically see with your eyes, but it just takes time. And like
Yeah.
for me, what I've done is like literally gotten in the car. We've talked about this before. Gotten in
Hmm.
the car, you drive to a warehouse park and you're going door to door, right? How much time, bro? The first time I did that, I was like, oh, I got an afternoon. I could hit this whole warehouse park. I hit one building. I hit one building and I was like, I can't believe this was as slow as it actually was. You know what I mean? Because
It's so slow, dude.
you do like a recon drive, you figure out kind of what the dock situation is, and then you come in through the front door, they're on the phone, or you're trying to find the right person,
Yeah.
or you know, you're sitting there, like you said, you're sitting there, you're looking at your phone, and you're trying to like, let me see if I can get a name, if I can get like a number or something like that. And I remember like the first day, I was like, oh, this is gonna be way slower than I thought.
It's a
But
long process, bro.
if you can do that all as you're just doing the drive and then finding the right person and all that's kind of like being dictated back to you, or at least like, hey, I drove by here. When's the next time I'm going to be out here? 2 weeks from now? Okay. You know, let's see how much activity I can build up in those 2 weeks automatically. And then next time I'm out here in this particular area, now it's more directed and you know, I can really make good time because like for me, bro, Florida, I don't know how big like the farthest point in your territory is. I know that there's like if you're driving to Vegas,
Yeah.
it's crazy, right? But that's exactly it. Like I literally got a call Tuesday. I was in Miami, went out and back 4 hours each way, and then I was like, okay, I think I'm done until until like May, and I get a call today, and he's like, hey, dude, I just got a lead here in Tallahassee, and he's like, yeah, I know it's far for you. I was like, yeah. He's like, yeah, can you be out here like Monday, Tuesday? Damn.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm just like, bro, like if I'm out in these areas every few weeks, that's one thing. But if I'm out there, like if I'm trying to get out into those areas and break into those areas and I'm trying to do the whole warehouse crawl thing, I can't do that I can't do that on like a weekly, you know, bi-weekly basis. It's like it takes time to hit all these different areas because like Jacksonville's another one too. You know, so far away.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. It's tough because we're not selling like a transactional product too, where you say, "Oh yeah, I do need some tape," or "I do need
Yeah,
a couple
yeah,
of extra racks." Or our power machine did go out, and I could just like get a new,
yeah.
a couple of power screwdrivers and
Yeah, it's like
nail guns and stuff.
The Snap-on truck shows up to like a mechanic's, you know, shop. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like, oh,
Yeah.
come into the truck and buy whatever you need. Like that's not what we're doing.
Yeah. So, yeah, to crack in really, a lot of these places, I think that's probably the most optimal way. Because like you said, Ben, I've done the warehouse crawls, and now the way I do them, it still takes days. So I'll like when I was in Vegas last time, I said, all right, I need 3 days really. So I did the first day was just driving, and I just circled around this area over and over again until I got to every warehouse
Wow.
and looked at every company. And I was like, all right, let me write this down so I can kind of know and have some like scope and perspective when talking to these people. And then after that, you got to go home and put them in your Zoom info or something. Get a list, get information about these companies because you don't know what they do. You just see their
No.
name on the
Mm-hmm.
top of the building. So the next day I did that and I was like, all right, find out what these companies do. Send email or at least find contacts. Then the next day I sent emails and went out again to like let me find 5 that I want to pop up on.
Yeah.
But it's like a 3-day process just to do that.
It's so slow, bro. It's so slow.
Yeah,
But if you don't do it now, and that's like going back to our original topic, if you don't do it now, right? Like you can't wait to do it later in the year because later in the year you're so desperate to close if you haven't hit your quota yet.
for
And so
sure.
it's like you have to play the long game and you have to plan long term. Like that's the biggest thing. It's like, okay, every time you go out to one particular area, try to make the most of your time in that area so that like the next time you hit that place again, now that visit is that much more valuable. You're not trying to do the same 2 doors, you're not driving 8 hours to hit 2 doors. Like,
Yeah,
the first time around, sure, maybe, but then you did enough recon to know that the next time you're out there, you're going to be able to hit like 10, 12 doors. Like that's a completely different scenario the second time around. But whatever tools you can figure out to make that shit
I'm
better,
saying.
bro. Like that's what I'm all about,
Yeah,
And
that's what I
I'm
was.
I'm seriously thinking about like this whole like Claude bot thing and like trying to figure that out. Like
Yeah,
if
man.
we can figure something out to make our lives that much easier, fire.
It's heavy, bro. Because even with the cold calling and the emails, I'm just like, yo, the AI could say, hey, they didn't respond. I'm gonna respond again in 3 days, and I don't have to train it. You know what I mean? And the gift for me, because you could always use Apollo and all these other places, but that's just another separate tool that I would have to use when I could have Apollo can't go log into your
No.
LinkedIn and then message people. So I might as well just use one person, one
Yes.
agent that can do all of that for me
Yes.
and integrate those. So that's where I'm kind of like, all right,
That's exactly what I think is like there's a lot of tools out there, but all of them require you to be in front of your computer, and then they lose the value compared to like what we're asking it to do for us.
for
Like
sure.
for us, any typical salesperson, bro. Like, I mean, I think that we're talking about a different company that we typically partner with before the call, and before we started recording, and like those guys are out and about more than we are, and like they're
Yeah,
always balls to the wall and all that stuff. And so for us, it's like I just want to be able to be in the car because we have to drive. You have to go to the customer site. You have to talk to them. You have to do in-person meetings. You have to do some prospecting, all that stuff. But I want to make that time in the car freaking valuable. Like I don't want to sit 4 hours just pissing the day away. You know what I mean? Like
dude.
I want to make those four hours out and 4 hours back valuable time.
That's what I'm saying, bro. And
Yeah.
especially
No.
because I always say, man, it would be cool, like you said, if they respond, send me their information so I could call them. When I'm on that drive for 3 hours plus, it's the perfect time to call somebody.
That's exactly what I do, bro. Before I head out into my car, like I have a list of like 5 to 10 people of like it's either customers or it's projects or it's
Yeah,
internal calls or it's whatever. I'm gonna be in the car. I might as well make some calls. And then
might
like
as well.
you do that the first hour, and then you're chilling. At least you hit it. And then
Yeah,
other stuff that comes up along the way, you're totally fine. If you can start having that conversation and actually start some prospecting, like you got me really cooking with
yeah,
gas.
yeah. Because I was like, it has to be the next level. Because it's cool to, okay, it can make my Google Doc for me or it can put together a presentation. I'm like, I don't need it for that. I need it to do some real work. some
Some real
real
work.
work.
Yeah, I need some real
You
work.
know what I mean?
I don't need it just like data entry. Like no,
Yeah.
I need names and numbers of people that are interested.
Yeah. I need names and numbers. And it took a minute to get out of that space of editing the marketing content to fit your liking. I'm like, you know what would be a lot more important than editing marketing content? Having leads. So anytime I think I'm about to click edit or screenshot something and put it on this seismic page or this, I'm like, nah, dude, I need the
Mm-hmm.
lead. So the lead,
Mm-hmm.
I need enough leads where this framework, because this is what the company decided to put out, I need leads that work for this framework instead
Yes.
of me having to put our logos together and make a pretty presentation. I'm like, nah, I need them to like this standard thing and they care more about the solution than the optics of the colors or something. I'm not changing anything anymore. I need leads. And so that's kind of where I'm at, where I think that automation is going to kick in, dude.
I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. We just got to use it for the
Yeah.
best outcome possible. Increase our sales, hit our quota.
Yeah, yeah, man. Because I got a guy who, this is what made me think about it for sales. He uses it for everything in his personal life. Like it'll go through. He was just doing this Home Depot. He's looking to buy. What was he doing? He's working on some shelves. So he's like having it instead of filtering himself and going lowest to highest or highly rated and reading reviews. He's having to do that. He's just like, yo, go through the website, find me the best four, make sure it's at my location, and I'll go see it. Instead of spending 20 minutes just doing this on his phone or on his
Yeah.
laptop. So I was like, man, if I could do
Yeah.
that
No.
for, yeah,
I thought I was ahead. I am way behind. I'm telling you, bro. I thought I was ahead, but I am way behind.
yeah, dude. So when he said, yeah, it's the top version. It's like 100 something a month. I said, oh, okay, I gotta do that, bro. Because then it kind of puts
I
you
gotta
in
talk to my
perspective.
accountant and see how we expense that shit.
Yeah, 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 for sure. It's got to be something that could be possible.
Yeah, write that off. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah,
I don't know. I like this. It'll be a good place for us to go. We'll see what next week looks like
yeah.
after I actually drive out to Tallahassee now.
Nah, dude. Yeah, true. So we gotta lean into this AI stuff. But here's the thing, though. Where do you feel? Because I mean, if someone may hear this conversation and think we're eliminating our own position, like, how do you feel about that?
No, I don't think there's okay. If it were transactional or itemized, like there was just an online store, you could buy what we sell. Okay, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Our stuff is too complicated for that. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
There's a reason why there's more of us than there was 2 years ago. And then there's a reason too why like certain companies will move in an upward trajectory instead of a downward trajectory. And I think that like increasing the customer experience is definitely something that will make any customer like value that particular supplier more. Right. So that's what helped Amazon become the monster that they are is, Jeff Bezos always said he wanted that Amazon to have the best customer service and having an actual person to talk to when you need something, like you're saying, right? Like if an AI bot can scroll through all these different options and all these different reviews and filter it a certain way and then provide a summary, you can't do that with our solution.
yeah.
So that's what keeps us here. You know what I
True.
mean? The issue is like on the flip side of that, you also need to be more, what's the word, more pointed with your conversations and your questions though, and really helping convert in your own prospect's brain that they actually want this.
Yeah.
Because of AI and because of the way that searches have completely changed, right? Like now we're in a no click culture, right? So if prospects are anything like my wife and I, like we go to ChatGPT about everything, like every single thing. And so by the time they call us, I'm sure they've asked ChatGPT. I've actually had more than one intro call where I was like, oh, where'd you guys hear about us? And it's like, oh yeah, we actually talked to ChatGPT and they spit out your name. And I was like, oh, okay. So marketing's doing their job pretty well.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, okay, well, it's enough of an intro and enough of a connection that they point a prospect to us, but it's not enough for the prospect to make a decision yet. Like there's still a lot of obscurity and a lot of custom engineering and a lot of like custom solutioning that it's not just an off the shelf product. So that's what keeps us here. So like now, if you were to say, hey, you actually have to now sell, I don't know, pneumatic fittings, like, okay, like absolutely not. There's nothing that makes me special. I don't care how special your titanium pneumatic fittings might be. Like it's, at one point, that's going to be a replaceable job. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
So that's the biggest thing is like, you know, how in depth, how complex is the solution in the actual overall sales process. The more complex, the more convoluted, the more time it takes. Like, because we have a long sales cycle, we talk about that all the time. The more time it takes, the harder it is for it to become a transactionary type of environment, and the harder it
True.
is for it to be replaced by a simple e-commerce fulfillment
Yeah, that's true.
type of
That's
space.
true. So we just got to be on the forefront of remaining in that light.
Well, that's the human connection, man. I'm telling you, bro. Like, there's a lot of, like, I had a customer, and it made me feel really, really good about this, but I had a customer straight up say, people buy from people, and you do a really good job, Brian, of like connecting to the human aspect of a sale. And I was like, that worked out really well for me, because now that customer likes me so much that I'm pinging on them to have other people come in and see their stuff, and it makes my future sales now even better. And so that's the type of connection that I strive to have, and a computer can't replace that.
Nah, you're right. You're right. I think that.
Especially if you leave it up to, no offense against like engineers, because technically I'm an engineer, but especially if you leave it up to people that aren't people. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Because like, bro, if it's up to the people that are behind the screen, it's either their way or the highway. You know what I mean? Like, there is no bending with the wind. Like,
We can't do that. That's their favorite term.
exactly. That's exactly right. That's not how we do things. That's not how
That's
we
not
do
how
it.
we
We
do
can't
it.
do
Yeah,
that. We're supposed to do it this way. No,
that is
no,
hilarious.
So
True.
if you want to move to AI, that's what you'd be getting. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Dude, you're right. Because I mean, I think about even just checking a chat bot on something, and you're like, "Hey, can I do this?" And it just circles back to this is the information we have available.
Yes, it's
Like,
happened
no,
to
I
me.
need something else.
Yeah, and you got to get creative in the way that you ask it.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. Now this is gonna be an interesting Q2. This is gonna be a very interesting Q2.
Yeah, it's gonna be
Economic
tough for me.
hedges, huh?
So it's gonna be tough for me.
I know, man. You got life coming on the way, though.
No, that's true, but it's tough for two reasons, right? So it's tough because like it'll be the first time I'll be experiencing sleep deprivation, all the
Yeah,
struggles
yeah,
that comes with that. But then also too, like taking a prolonged like break. Like, I've done vacations, but not really like disconnected. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
True.
So taking a prolonged break where I'm like basically disconnected, like I'll be tuning into emails here and there, but I won't be doing like active customer calls and internal calls and all that other stuff where I'm like, I got a good beat on everything. It'll be very difficult. And I sincerely am like, how is this gonna work against me in a way? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
the whole sales funnel thing takes work, bro. Like, there's
For sure, man. I mean, well, new parents, bro. This is usually a good jolt of adrenaline and motivation for at least four
very
months.
true.
I give
No,
you
no, no,
like 4 months
very
is
true.
like really strong, and then after that, the sleep deprivation kicks in again, and you're like, oh, okay, all
Bro,
right,
I'm trying to sleep train this baby as soon as he comes out the womb.
dude.
You know,
It's possible, man. It's tough. It's tough though,
takes a while. I
but
know.
it's manageable. It just takes a little bit.
No, I'm with you.
I would argue because that's the good time. You're gonna be in the good time before their schedule becomes your schedule. That's the hard part. Like once they get into 4 and 5, and
Yes.
the daycare or the nursery or the school for TK says, "Now you gotta pick them up at 1." You're like, "Who gets off at 1 o'clock?" Nobody. We don't care.
Yeah.
They say,
That's so
"We don't
true.
care." Here's the thing: we'll keep them, but we're gonna charge you more. You're like, "Oh,
That is
yeah." Once you get there, that's the tough spot, dude. 4 or 5. That's when it starts to kick your ass. You're like, all right, I'm paying for this little sucker to be protected and managed while I'm going to make money, but it's also taken away from the money I make.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Balance.
But
That's a balancing act.
but dude, that's why we're gonna figure out this AI, man. So you'll be good.
Yeah, yeah. We'll figure it out.
We're
We'll
gonna figure
we'll
the
tune
AI
back
out.
in next week and see how far we got.
Yeah. Let us know.
All right, bro.
All right,
Let's
man.
sign off. If anybody
Yeah,
has any good ideas about what they're going to be doing to turn up Q2, turn up the fire, the intensity, and if you're using any AI bots that you think are beneficial and actually practical, then let us know in the comments. Leave us a like and make sure to subscribe to the channel, and let us know anything else from our side, Brian.
That's it. I agree with Brian. If you know some tips, some tricks, some tools that could shorten some of these remedial tasks, let us know for sure.
All right, y'all. Thank you.
All right. Peace.